Hello, you are listening to the Field Coach Experts podcast, where we share the secrets of improving franchisee engagement and performance. I'm so excited. Today, I'm joined by Kristen Christian. I may have practiced that, of Be Organized, somebody I got to meet a couple of years ago at the FBR Summit, which is a quick shout out to Franchise Business Review. They put an amazing summit on for operations leaders. Yeah, so we got to meet Kristen, and today we're going to be talking about shifting from operational support to more strategic support. And Kristen's gone through a lot of that in her brand. And so, Kristen, hello. You ready to have some fun?
I am. I'm so delighted to be here. Thank you for having me, Angela. I love it.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I was so excited when you said yes because I'm going to give, before I ask you to give some context, I want to give you or give a little context and give you a little shout out because when we first met, you just cared so much, and you still do, always about learning, right? And getting it right. And you've always been so open to hearing, different opinions and ways of doing things and then filtering that. But when we had the opportunity to first start working with you, my team was like, surprise, surprise, they're really organized.
We better be, right?
But I mean, you think, but as at that, earlier stage franchisor, for the stage you were at and are at, you guys have a lot of great stuff in place. And when I say that, we get the opportunity to lift the hood on a lot of different brands of all different stages, even multi like platform brands. And you guys are getting pretty dialed in there. Yeah, it's impressive. And we're excited to have the opportunity to have done some work with you, and we'll dig into that today.
Well, that means the world to me. Thank you, because it's been a lot of hard work, but I do think we're heading in the right direction, and we're doing that. We've built a great foundation, so I so appreciate you acknowledging that. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, well let's give some context a little bit about yourself and Be Organized. Let's hear a little bit of the story.
Yes, yes. Well, my best friend since junior high, Lisa and I started Be Organized back in 2015. And really, our goal then was to help people live a better life through organization. That was really our goal. We loved organization and felt strongly of the impact it had on individuals, homes, families, and businesses. So, franchising, I teased that I didn't even know how to spell franchising at the time. That was not the plan. But right, really out of the gate, we struck a nerve. There was so much demand. And so we started hiring our first organizers. We call them bees, pretty much right out of the gate instantly. And so we had to come up with the systems and the processes, and we had to learn to let go. And if we were going to grow and scale this thing, and quite honestly, it kind of grew before we were ready. And so, but in putting those systems and processes together, we developed something that could be repeated. And therein comes the third part of our team. My big brother Scott came in and said, hey, you guys have got to franchise this. He had decades worth of franchising experience. And so we franchised early on. We were able to do that because we don't have a brick and mortar. So we started franchising in 2017, and really had an awesome opportunity with our original three franchisees. They really were pioneers with us. All of our franchisees are pioneers with us and get in that boat, but they really came in and were willing to help row in the same direction and build with us. So as we are today, we're in 49 markets. Lisa and I still own our original shop, Be Organized Kansas City, but it's now a corporate location and serves as really the test kitchen for everything, because we have fully scaled that. We're out of the daily. We've got a management staff that runs that. And so it allows us to keep our head and heart and hands in the business side of things on that. But really our primary objective is franchising. And over there, our goal is to help people build the business of their dreams. We've got 11 of us full time on staff here at what we call the main hive.
Yeah.
And support, as you know, is everything in franchising. So that's what we're trying to do, is support our franchisees in the best way, protect the brand, and build the brand.
Oh, love it. All of that. So good. And I want to just call something out here for anybody that's listening. So Scott, he's still currently a franchisee?
He
Regardless.
is. He and his wife own another system, another brand, home healthcare company, Right at Home, and so his wife runs that business on the daily. So Scott has, has been a silent owner on that side for years now, and so has had the unique perspective, such as yourself, of being a franchisee and really knowing how that feels, what's good communication, what's not, what, just that lens. And so he comes to the table with that incredible opportunity and lens that helps us in our decision making. And to be quite honest with you, Right at Home, their brand, their support, their, they just, they do things right. And we have mapped and patterned a lot of how we do things and operate like them as they have. And simply because Scott and his wife are so, one, successful, and love and adore their franchisor. And who doesn't want to hear that, right? That's what I would love after a franchisee's been with us for decades, that it's really a partnership.
Yeah, I cannot emphasize enough how valuable it is that Scott on your team is a franchisee. And you say silent, but I'm sure he hears it all, right? At the kitchen table.
He's
He
pretty
would hear,
active, yeah.
yeah, and he would hear the challenges from his wife, like whether he wants to or not, that's gonna come home, I'm sure. So that perspective, it's interesting because when I first was trying to figure out what to do next in my life after not I was still a franchisee but needed something different. I didn't realize how valuable having been a franchisee was. So I'm so happy for you guys that you have that.
Yeah.
Living and breathing is so good. And then I love
Well,
that you're
and the fact that the model is very similar. I mean, they have caregivers that are, deploying out to homes. So we have organizers deploying out to homes. So it's a, somewhat similar model.
yeah, I think you're fortunately a little bit less technical, right? You don't have to find like
Uh,
the
and we're
technical.
not 24/7.
Yeah.
We're not
So
dealing with life and death.
yes, yeah. So lots of purpose still, but less, maybe a little bit less complicated, I would say.
1000%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So when we first met, let's take me back or take our listeners back to what franchisee. Of course, we have to talk about support, right?
Yeah.
What was franchisee support like when we first met? Like if franchisee needed something, or how were you dealing with that?
Yes. Well, we're still an emerging brand, so we're still, always kind of redefining that. And I would imagine all brands are
I
that
was
way.
just gonna
Yeah.
say, yeah, you could have 400 and you're still
Yes.
redefining.
And the minute you stop refining or redesigning, you've got a
Yeah.
problem. But
Yes.
when you and I met specifically, probably about 2.5 years ago, we had not defined someone or several someones to specifically be the business coaches. We were all still wearing a lot of those hats. And so back on early on in the day, Lisa and I would have what we called 2-on-1s with each of our owners. We would have them on a weekly, monthly basis. And in essence, what they were, Angela, they were coaching calls. We didn't call them that.
Yeah.
But probably back then it was more operational. And so we would kind of get caught in those weeds of helping them put out fires and being reactive and dealing with the operations of things, which there is a time and place for that.
Yeah.
But we were still shoring up our foundation and that operations and training and support side of that. So we were kind of trying to kill several birds with one stone in
No,
those two at
not
one.
bees. Don't kill the bees.
No, 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 we don't do that at all. Um, so now what we've done, interesting, having been on your roundtable, and just a shout out to those of you who are listening and have not participated in a roundtable. I do everything I can to not miss them on a weekly basis because there's just so much wealth of knowledge and so much generosity of knowledge. And it's kind of made us all feel like, okay, we're not alone. We're doing the, we're kind of, what we're experiencing is typical, and that we're really, trying to learn and shore up and better our offerings and our support. So between the round tables and just learning more and growing and building our foundation of having more people here at what we call the main hive, we've now created the two people that are specifically business coaches. So they have that higher level. They don't get into the operations side of things. If they have operations, they'll help triage and get them to the right person here. Yeah, right. And that's in the first start of that though, we have those two business coaches, but then also what we created is we have what we call, of course, everything has to be,
Right.
branded here, but we have what we call a colony advisor for those who are going through their first year. So she kind of really holds their hand, deals with more of those operational fires, reactive things in that first year. Then they kind of graduate to more of those coaching calls. And that has really worked well for us because that coaching then gets into those higher level, bigger, meatier conversations. But you have to get past that initial reaction and operations questions until you can get there. So that's where we are now. And then we also have taken advantage of your performance groups. We've taken probably the total of 14 of our owners have gone through two different performance groups with you all. And that has been imperative too, just has elevated the level of conversation, the understanding of, at the end of the day, it's all about metrics and what KPIs you're looking at and letting the numbers tell the story and guide you, and how we support them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'd love to get into that a little bit in what you saw from that, just so people can think about the value of just even if they run them themselves, however you do it, but bringing franchisees together, the way that that can
Mhm.
work. But so many good things you said there. I want to touch on. So the FBCs, are you calling them FBCs?
We do well. We kind of growth coaches really here.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's great too. Um, yeah, I just want to make sure I get it right because every brand
Yeah.
has it. When we say field coach out there, we're saying that just as generic for our industry of like franchisors. But I love when the franchisors pick a title that works in their brand that
Mhm.
and growth coach is great. So let's just touch briefly then on so before you were doing what you called it coaching with your co-founder Lisa. You acknowledge it was more operational, like how to actually run within the business, how to deliver the service, how to take money from people, how to track things, all that stuff, right? And like you, and I love that you acknowledge that there is a time and place for that, but business coaching, those folks can triage it, or there's ways that they can help with it. It's not that we're saying, well, don't help them with operations, obviously.
No, because you've got to do that too. Yes.
Well, that you got to make sure they're on brand standards, and like there's so many things it's got to be done. But one thing I wanted to point out is I don't know if you know this, but um like most even established brands, they aren't thinking, or they want the strategic coaching, but they're
Mhm.
struggling to figure out how to switch it. So to be at the stage you're at, you're ahead of the game.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Well,
Again,
there's lots of elements for that. And I do think it was Lisa and I getting out of that role because we were at that point still so in the operations side of it and the how to of it. We have since, created so many tools that help with that. But I think kind of letting go of the reins and letting somebody else do that business coaching, whether it be, here that we have internally or handing over like a performance group to you all. Um, because I don't want to say it's the same conversation no matter the business, but it is. It's a lot of the same conversation no matter what the brand, the widget, or the service is.
yeah, absolutely. Because and I wasn't when we first started on our mission, we didn't know for sure if that was true, but
It translate.
every industry we go, it's the same challenges. Franchisees need to understand their metrics, and like you said, that and be
Yep.
motivated to follow their metrics, use them to make decisions, get out in their communities, and
Get
um,
out of the biz and on the
yeah,
biz. It's
yes,
all the same.
yeah,
Yes.
same, yeah. So that's and that's the business coaching side, right?
Yeah.
Where that's the strategic versus operational. I just want to really clarify that for people that aren't so in this world of having done that or made that transition. Um, that yeah, we're often I see brands even again like 200, 300, 400 locations, and they might check the franchisees KPIs once a month, and once a quarter they look at the P&L, or and they're like, that's, oh yeah, we're doing business analysis and business coaching. And no, we're talking about prioritizing that on the calls with the franchisees, yeah, with the right skills.
historically, that's what we kind of started doing. Of Lisa and I were doing these calls, albeit more operational. Then we started creating kind of quarterly dashboard. We call them state of your hive, pulling all the metrics that we could. We all the things you're not supposed to do, anything you could quantify. We were throwing on this page, and we thought, oh, here we are. Isn't this a great tool? But if you don't have the conversation to go along with it, it falls flat. And before you can have that conversation, you have to have the relationship and the trust. So, it was interesting building that. So it was kind of an aha moment where we're like, okay, we need now to expand on this dashboard state of your hive and really put helpful strategic conversation with it.
Yeah. I remember, thanks again for the shout out about the round tables.
Yeah.
We're
Oh gosh.
get
I
more.
will forever shout out about the roundtable.
Thank you. We're always trying to get more franchisors at those roundtables because we know that, well, in order to keep them going, we just always need some fresh blood coming in. So if anybody's listening and you're not on our invite, reach out. You can go through our website, fieldcoachexperts.com. But I feel like I remember a time where we were talking about support, and I feel like I remember you sharing that we're currently, like, it's kind of depends on what the person needs. Oh, marketing, well then the marketing person, Wendy's going to deal with that, right? Or you saying, well, they just call me, like they need something, they call me, or they, so there wasn't that designated person. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember at that round table people kind of trying to understand, why should you shift, if you should, why should you shift to a designated person? I can't resist kind of going there for a second. Like what made you decide we need to have a designated person versus just they can call whoever, or like spread it out
Well,
based on.
because of meeting, yeah, they were calling Lisa and I, and let's be honest, I don't have all the knowledge. That's one of the biggest things of just realizing and acknowledging and being okay to say, I don't have all the answers, but we've got people on the team that are better suited for this. For example, our COO Leslie, she's the operational guru. She's got the systems and the processes. Do not call me asking how to get a new organizer on the website, because I'm going to tell you wrong, or I'm just going to put you in the wrong. That's not my lane. So I think it was, as we've matured, we've learned, not that you stay in your lane and you only do your job, but I am doing where my skill set is, and I am better serving the system and the franchise owners by staying in that lane and letting other people who have that skill set. But of course, that grows, because in the beginning, you're wearing all the hats. Well, truth be told, you can't be everything to everybody. And so it really became, how do we have the bandwidth? We knew we had to be able to answer and support in all these areas. Then we had to create the paths and the right protocol. As it is now, though, still, oh my gosh, call me anytime. I'm wide open, but I might say to you, hey, that's a Wendy question. That's a Leslie question. Or we've even, of course, come up with systems and processes of how you get to those answers. And that's growth, though. That's just as you're maturing, coming up with those processes.
I just want, yeah, I'm glad we covered that. I'm glad that it came up because we get asked that a lot. Like, why do I need a designated person? Why can't they just, yeah, have different support people? Like, I've even seen more established, a little bit more established brands that where they have the marketing person, the tech person, the whatever. But where's the business coaching too, right? And that, it sounds like that's a big, obviously that's a big piece of all of this. But like, 'cause there,
All just in the, what's the 911? And I am proud to say, I think all of us here at the Main Hive, our franchisee, our owners know, or have a different relationship with each of us, and know that we can be always their 911. They don't have to follow the operational hierarchy here at Be Organized. They can just phone in a call, but it's more efficient, and they're going to get what they need in better timing if they go to the right person.
yeah, and if they have that with that designated coach, it's in their best interest too to build a good relationship so that when they need something, that person is tuned in and aware. Like, I know a lot of franchisees, not a lot. A lot of franchisors talk about those few franchisees that won't engage with their coaches, and one of the ways that I hear people try to solve that is to try to help the franchisee understand if we're not engaging with each other and then you suddenly need something and I don't have all the context, I'm not going to be able to help you as much.
You're coming in cold.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's touch base on the performance groups. Side note in case anybody's listening and confused, because we've recently sort of rebranded them. So we've done tons of them. We've been doing them for a few years, but what was happening was we were getting people saying, well, do you do this for new franchisees? And what about the top performers? So we broke it out. We've actually got 4 different categories. We've got like jumpstart for new franchisees that gets the business off to a great start, which we all know is really important, all the way up to like a mastermind. But what your groups did is basically we're teaching them business skills, right? Like let's help you understand business skills. It was just for people listening for context, 6-month program, and we're going to start with where are you now? Like let's assess all of that, right? And then have they're in a group, so there's accountability every 2 weeks. They have to the one that didn't do their homework, that never happens again. They're so embarrassing, right? So yeah, so it's pretty organized. There's curriculum, there's a facilitator, and then there's conversation. Um, I guess let's start with so for you, it sounds like for you, this was a great supplement or complement to whatever you were currently doing. Is that, would you?
Absolutely. Those words are perfect. That supplement and then a compliment, because this was, Scott was rolling into that business coaching or growth coaching stage, but we've got enough franchisees that had that need and that want for higher level. And so we realized taking it out, having a third party come in for several reasons, I think really worked. One, shout out to Paige, who was our performance group leader, really took the time to understand our business and be able to kind of talk the talk, our lingo. But she wasn't part of us. And I think that allowed our franchisees to just feel safe and kind of open up and let their guard down a little bit, and really then be cohesive and connect and bond with fellow franchisees. And so the conversation couldn't really even get to operations because that's not Paige's role. Paige's role was really, let's keep this strategic. Let's talk about the KPIs, the metrics, how we're going to do that. What's your mission? And really forcing them to answer some difficult questions, maybe some embarrassing questions, some questions they would rather ignore. And so it was just that accountability and forcing the issue. We did both these performance groups. We actually, the Main Hive paid for them. And so, but we had a deal that if you miss, I can't remember what it was, if you miss more than 2 of the meetings, you owe us the money back. So there was kind of some skin in the game a little bit, which I liked that. And we had great results from that. Everybody was so engaged and involved, and out of that thing makes me happier than to see fellow franchisees leaning on each other and creating alliances and learning from one another way past the performance group. That's been something really special, because I think that's the unsung hero of franchising is your fellow franchisees, and nobody understands what you're going through but somebody who's running that same business. So I love that. So yes, it was definitely a great time in our growth period where we didn't have these 2 growth coaches fully in place and ready to roll. So it allowed us to kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah, that's great. So when you mentioned as you know, I talk about engagement all the time. I've learned we used to kind of just talk about all the things like engagement, profitability, performance. All of that's important, but I'm getting more and more convinced that engagement drives all of those things.
1000%.
Okay, so you agree with that?
The most successful franchisee is the engaged and successful franchisee, right? I mean, there's a reason why people joined a franchise, is that support and the engagement, and not just, not just with the corporate group, but with your fellow franchisees. It's, hey, building a business is hard and it's lonely, and why not lean into those who are dealing with the same highs and lows that you are? So yes, I see engagement as such an important thing and as such a metric of success.
And yeah, the fact that like I yeah can't emphasize enough or agree with you more that franchisees tapping into that network is so valuable, and it's such a great reason to become a franchisee, that you get that support, you know, you have that opportunity to learn from others. I remember when I was struggling, when I was a franchisee and I was struggling with, you know, how do I get good team members so that I can be working on my business and not in it. And I found out we were like store number 300 and then 319 and 327 in the chain. So there were a lot of other franchisees that had been around before us. And I remember calling this lady in another market who had five of the top performing stores in Canada. And I was like, how, Christine, how are you doing this? Like, she was always out doing things and being from up here, you know, and that she became a bit of a mentor. She shared so much with me. And I was like, so any franchisee that's listening to this, or prospective franchisee, if you're listening to this, like, that is a missed opportunity if you're not, like, find out who's good at the thing that you are struggling with, and I guarantee there's someone struggling with that same problem and has figured it out. So
1000%. I love that.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask, one of the, speaking of engagement, I wonder when people hear the idea of like, okay, you got these people in this group, um, probably one thing going through some people's mind is, how do you get franchisees to want to be in that group? Like, did you just make them go? Like, hey, you're not.
The second group was easier to get people to because you had the first group saying how awesome it was. So it's that validation, it's proof of concept, it is the testimonials of those first people that went through the performance group of saying, wow, I now feel more confident. I have a better handle of my numbers and know what the numbers mean and the metrics and where my concentration should be. It definitely has been cool to see just this confidence rising within those. So the first group, how did we get them in? We had Paige come in and share statistics that you all have seen from other groups, and just talking about that we're providing this opportunity for you to grow your business and get better at it. And I think just people saw that and wanted that and felt that. Clearly we had a gap, Angela. I think we had a gap that we had people really needing and wanting that, and so it was perfectly timed. So that first one worked out great on who participated, but secondly, definitely that second one, it was the first people coming in and saying, hey, this is legit, this made sense. It was not a burden, it was something I looked forward to and have definitely seen hard and fast results from it.
Yeah, awesome. And
That's
let's
it.
maybe put that
Well,
in.
right?
What's that?
That at the end of the day is what sells it. If you're
Result.
seeing improve, numbers going up.
Yeah, well, and we'll talk about that in a minute too. Also, I think a key point is with this kind of thing is, people like you just hit the nail on the head when you said you found the people that wanted to grow, right? So they wanted more. They knew that, you know, they were willing to put in the work. It doesn't work with people that don't want that. So that first group were your early adopters, probably out of the whole system, the people that, it doesn't necessarily mean top performers or anything like that. It's like the desire to learn about business, to get better, and to get more out of what they wanted out of the investment.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, so let's talk about what are some of the things you saw as a result of, like, either while they were in, or if you want to go to metrics,
Yeah.
is anything that,
Before getting to hard and fast numbers, I saw engagement go up. I saw,
like, with the brand on the whole, like, were they showing up to other
yes,
calls
yes,
more, or what do you
yes.
mean by that?
Absolutely, participating in focus groups and even opening new newsletters and emails that we send. Like we just, yeah. But so just seeing overall engagement and seeing that we're all on the same page, we're all working in the same direction. So that was really cool. It almost like it validated both sides of us, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then just elevated conversations. And then what I, along with that confidence that I talked about, I saw more of an owner mindset coming out of how they talked, that they were owning. I think a lot of times franchisees talk about, they have that. What am I trying to say? Where they think they're something they're not.
And imposter syndrome.
Thank you, imposter syndrome.
Waves, but the verbal kind. Okay.
This is a lot of us, you deal with this imposter syndrome. And so it turned that it was like they were like, no, I am running this ship. I am the owner of this business. And they started kind of having that more of that owner mindset. And man, that does amazing things when you start taking it on as ownership and seeing, when I do this or pull this lever or change this, I see the shift and change in my business. That's really cool and powerful. So I loved seeing that. I love seeing that development of an owner. And then just from a number standpoint, our participants in our performance groups have seen an average of 27% year over year growth compared to an average system of 7%. So that's amazing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's in revenue they're seeing. So
Not
that
like,
directly goes, which is great then for royalty revenue, which
yeah.
everybody, and I'm gonna guess it's way harder to track this, but I'm gonna guess hopefully that their profitability went up too because they were learning about their P&L and all that, right?
Absolutely. Well, they've got a tighter ship. I mean,
Yeah.
they're looking at and paying attention to, unlike, the early state of the hives that we put together with all these metrics, they're really zoning in on what is making a difference, because you can look at metrics all day long, but if you're not, doing the right things and paying attention to the specific numbers that really mean something, you're kind of playing office.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm being a business owner. I'm looking at my
Yeah.
metrics, but
Yeah.
I don't know what to do
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah.
All right, now
So,
this one,
yeah, it
this one down.
really, yeah, helped him crystallize what is it that I need to be looking at and how important that was, the why behind that, and
Yeah,
kind of demystified it too. I think all of us as business owners, you have so much you're dealing with. Your hair on fire, drinking from the fire hose. The last thing I want to do is sit down and look at the numbers. I don't even know what I mean, I just think it's so easy to brush it under the rug. And I think the performance group really simplified it, crystallized what it needs, what you need to look at, and highlighted the importance of looking at those numbers and tracking those so that you can make it educated decisions and changes and tweaks in your business that really propel you forward.
love it. This is exactly what they're all about. And what was something you said about the maybe it'll come back to me.
Yes.
It buzzed off.
And I can't help you on this one. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't have anything to help you figure out what I was thinking. It'll come back if it matters. Um, yeah, that's amazing. Oh, I see. I knew it would come. It already came back. What I was trying to point out is, you already touched on this, but like the being in a franchise, you're in a network of people, and uh, but the franchisee also has to recognize, like the franchisor has to make money too, so that the franchisor can invest in this business to keep growing it, right? So I just was going to point out, like, the royalty revenue that you get when your franchisees increase their revenue is so important to the health of the franchise, which matters to every single person, including frontline employees in that franchise. So, yeah, I mean, I just, but we do want to see the profitability obviously go up too.
Mhm.
So those are all good. Where I
Absolutely.
want to quickly touch on before we wrap up here, as we're getting kind of closer, and we'll make sure you can, if there's anything else you want to add
Sure.
in or anything. But what was the lift like on your end? And I don't know if I asked this or warned you that I might ask you this, but like, I think one of the reasons, I'm going to guess that one of the reasons franchisors resist sometimes doing anything to potentially improve support or on that side of things is that, like, the time it might take to get it going, and in terms of like, do you have to do all this work to prepare someone else to run this performance group for you? So what objections might people have, and how? what was your objection, and then how do you overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, I think time, yes, bandwidth is always that. I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get somebody up to speed to do this? Before that, though, I think, Angela, it was more, why am I going to let somebody from outside of the business
Ooh.
come in, look under the hood, and then advise our franchisees? What if we're not in alignment and our franchisees are going to get another message that's not in line with how we support or our what we believe? So to me, I would think that would be a bigger one.
Good to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But what I loved is having sat in so many, I was going to say hundreds, probably have, of your roundtables. I know your philosophy. I know Brecken's and Paige. I know what you guys stand for.
Yeah.
And so that gave me peace of mind as one of the founders that no, these are
Mhm.
our people. You and I have kind of said that from day one, right? We're each
Yeah.
other's people, but you definitely, we look at things the same and apply the same philosophy and the same culture and mindset. So that helped also then really digging in with Paige, who led our franchise groups. We had extensive conversations with her, and she really understood and got what our objectives were, what our hopes were, how we do things, so that we were in alignment. Because I think that that's a franchisor's biggest fear, is that somebody's going to come in and kind of topple things over and misdirect or redirect in a way that's not going with the whole company. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things is that, as far as the time, to be honest with you, it really didn't take that much time, because um Paige was really good. She knew exactly what to ask for, not to pat ourselves on the shoulders, but we had all those elements in place. So I just opened up all the, I sent her every document that she asked for, and we had those systems and processes in place, the ops manual, all that. So she was able to really digest the Be Organized way. Again, she didn't have to get into the operations side of things, but she needed to understand what our,
Yeah,
who
but what
we are, how we
are you tracking, and what do you call this at your brand so that I'm speaking the same language,
Right.
right?
So the heavy lift was really on your side
Yeah.
to, to
Yeah.
understand us. But again, you have a system and a process for that, and it was really pretty simple. So
Hmm.
it was having that comfort level and
Hmm.
letting go,
Trust. Yes, and
and
trust.
yeah, and trust. I mean,
Yeah.
you only do business with people you like, know, and trust, right? So you guys were perfect for that.
Oh, thank you. Well, I didn't mean for you to, I mean, I feel like I didn't
Well,
mean
I always will, because that's how I feel.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I guess I hadn't thought long and hard about, I have thought about what you said about the other people coming in. What I've noticed when in the past, when I've seen franchisors bring a coach from the outside, like that the franchisee can hire on their own or something like that, is often that coach doesn't have franchise experience. And so they're telling the franchisee, well, what are you getting for your royalties? And, they should be doing your marketing for you. And so one of the benefits of having us or a group that knows franchising is we're actually doing the opposite. We're helping them realize, like, this is normal. Everything that you think you need and that, like, you think they should be giving you this or that. Nope. This is franchising. So that's
Validating each other. I think that definitely did. I think the people
good.
who went through franchise performance group came to appreciate us more and what we put together, because they were getting that message from Paige and kind of level setting of, you guys, this is an incredible opportunity. This is an incredible business. Let's get your ducks in a row so that you can go and just rock and roll with this. So it was that mutual validation, which we all need. And I agree. I think any franchisee that is getting coaching, it would be so beneficial to have that coach have franchising knowledge, because franchising is a different ball game, and it is not common knowledge.
I'm going to throw in just a quick point on that, just because people always ask us, like, when we're looking for a coach to bring on, do we have to find somebody in franchising? And I say, not necessarily. You want to start with like their DNA, and then do they have like the right DNA to be a coach? And that's another whole conversation. Because you can teach the franchise, like if they're coming in internal, you can teach them the responsibility of the franchisor versus the franchisee, it can be harder to teach the right DNA stuff that you need.
100%. Yeah.
Right. I mean, of course, we coach coaches on the skills needed, but they have to start with the right foundation. So, but if they come in from another franchise, then you want to make sure they have those skills. Because they got, anyway, that I
Yeah.
just did a little bit of, I call it
Pieces, isn't it?
yeah. And I should probably trademark my fransplaining is what I call
Yeah,
that.
I love that. Yeah, Fran's like,
I don't know what I would ever do with that, but anyway, okay. So yeah, just wanted to point that out. So as we get wrapping up here, um, before I'm going to ask you, well, actually, anything else you want to point out that we didn't get cover, and then I'm going to ask you about the best way for people to get a hold of you.
oh yeah.
Any surprises that you saw with your franchisees, or any other things that stood out with your key takeaway?
Uh, you and your PTAs, right?
That's always in my thing, my key takeaways.
No, I love what's been nice with those who have been in the performance group. So of course we will continue because we love data here at Be Organized, and we now have them in different categories. If they've been through performance group, then we kind of follow them along and look at that through a different lens, because we want to be able to report back to you that ROI, but also we get to have more leveled up conversations with them. So we use that franchise group as a springboard, that information. And so it's I wasn't expecting that. I appreciate that. And so they're forever kind of earmarked as, oh, that's performance group 1, performance group 2. And so then it's been really fun to look at the data and see how they're performing and responding to that.
We should talk in about another year about this, because I'd love to hear.
Yes.
And as you implement more and more of your own, that strategic growth coaching through Scott and your other newer
Yeah.
FBC, that's really exciting.
Well, and
Okay.
you also have to couple with that the maturation, how long they've been around. And
Yeah.
so compare that, just, yeah, it's I love the data that's coming from all of this that we're doing to improve.
Yeah. Love it.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Go be awesome. I'm gonna take a wild guess. I don't think I asked you this, but I'm gonna take a wild guess that you're okay with people potentially reaching out to you
Oh
that
gosh,
this
yes.
and think you're awesome and they want to maybe learn from you or share with you. What's the best way for people then to reach out to you?
Yeah, beorganized.com. Or I'm Kristen at beorganized.com. I'm just easy. It's it's an honor to give back. I have, as you've seen, I've been a sponge, and
In
I
a
will
good way.
continue. I'm so curious, and my goal, all of us here at Be Organized, we just want to do what's right, and we want to build this brand and protect this brand in the right way. So the way to do that is open yourself up to others and learn from one another and lean on one another.
I love that. I always hear this expression, one hand up and one hand down.
I love that.
Right?
Yes.
Like
I love
I know you well enough to know that you're both of that. Like you want to learn,
You feel like I've been like this for a while.
pulling on the up one, but yeah, but no, you're doing the right thing. You're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
You've got the franchisee's best interest at hand, at heart.
At heart.
Heart,
And
yeah.
mind, I don't
There
know.
we go. Okay, so I always ask at the end for a Go Be Awesome challenge. Got to stay on brand here. Basically something, because I'm all about action steps, and I love for people to have, okay, like this was a lot. What's one thing I can go do this week, right now, to put some of this into action, especially the idea of going from operational support, answering questions about the business inside the business, to like strategic coaching.
Yeah. I think it's almost even just saying exactly that. I after listening to a few of your podcasts, I wanted to reach out. There were some specific franchisees I wanted to reach out to and just say, hey, I'm here. I'm your sounding board. I may not know everything, but I can give you kind of perspective from kind of a bird's eye view. And just saying, I would love to strategize with you. Just coming right out and saying that, rather than, how's your business? I'm here if you need me. Or, because I think that's a scary question for a franchisee to get. They're like, how am I supposed to answer that to her? But just putting yourself out there and reminding your franchisees that you're in the boat with them. You're their partner. You're here to strategize with them, and that you're not an expert. You don't know how it is to feel like be them or running their exact business, but that you can be a sounding board. And that is, I think, an action that I have wanted to do after listening to your podcast, and hope that people want to after listening to this particular one, is just go and be there for your franchisees.
That's awesome. And it will that will help with engagement. Like, right? It's not I'm coming in to tell you whether your metrics are on track. It's, hey, I'm here to soundboard and I care about your growth and I care about your goals, right?
Right. And that's what, yeah, because I reach out a lot to franchisees, but I don't think I was saying the right things. And
Right.
so that's where, yeah, I'm gonna really take that.
Yeah, it's very lets the guard down and it's
Yes,
trusting, right?
yes,
So
yes.
okay. Well, that is awesome. And so huge thank you, Kristen. I Can we do this every day?
I would love it. I would love it. Let's do it. Thank you. What an honor.
Oh, well, I always get energized around you. I love to be around people that are
Well,
energizing,
likewise.
hopefully we're sharing some energy. But yeah, so thank you for sharing what it really looks like to have leveled up, from this operational, and you're still leveling up, but on that journey, you always will be. We talked about that earlier. So for our audience, as always, the goal is to leave you with simple, actionable ways to modernize your field coaching and unlock that hidden profitability sitting right inside your brand. So if something sparked a shift for you today, be sure to pass this podcast along, maybe somebody else on your ops team, field team. And if you're curious how we can help you with that transition from operational to strategic, whether through growth groups or otherwise, reach out. And so until next time, go be awesome.